Hello, friends. Welcome. Today I'd like to talk about what Peter once said to me about the earth being the back of the queue. One day he turned to me and he said, Neil, of all the worlds of God, and there's 200, including this world that God created, he said the earth is at the very back of the queue. And I knew exactly what he meant by that, because it doesn't take much looking upon this world to understand what he meant. And what he meant was we are the most self-destructive of all God's worlds. Because of war, because of greed and exploitation of the resources of this planet, because of greed and control and those seeking great power over resources, over land and territory and different things. This world was created by God for us all to share, wasn't it? Of course it was. And it's the greedy grabbing and the backstabbing want to hoard it all to themselves. And they're exploiting this world and they have no care for it. Because as far as they're concerned, they'll be dead and gone, and it's a world that can be used and abused and left behind, a relic of what it once was, and heading for catastrophe. So all these big companies and many governments are supporting them because they allow them to do it, are exploiting this world for great profit. And, fossil fuels are causing a great catastrophe to happen on this world of global warming. And we should have turned green a long time ago, over the last 30 years, really, but we didn't. And there are efforts to start going that direction, but it's nowhere near quick enough, because we can already see the catastrophic change in the weather conditions being caused by global warming. So it's really difficult to broach this subject, isn't it? And the thing is that dirty, polluting things, governments make a lot of money out of. Every barrel of oil they export it's sold in dollars, but they tax it in dollars for every single barrel. The governments get that money. They are making great profit out of polluting this world, and they don't want to change. Not in any hurry. And, you've seen it in this country, United Kingdom, that they've diluted down turning to green so quickly. And they've went to the G20, COP28, and our Prime Minister said we must change, we must go green, blah, blah, blah. And then he comes back here and issues more oil licenses to Shell to go out and explore for more gas and oil in the North Sea. So, and he's been called a hypocrite by some for doing that. And, you could probably see that. I mean, it's all about profit, and they are funding these big companies by letting them drill for these things. But they're getting a lot of profit out of it too, governments. So that's why they still want it to go ahead. They don't want to give up the money, do they? Because green energy really doesn't produce anywhere near as much income for governments as what dirty fossil fuels do. So reluctant they are to change. And they won't. Not in any hurry. Not many of the governments around this world won't ban fossil fuels and won't adopt, turning to green energies, renewable energies completely in a hurry. And, there are other ways of producing clean energy as well, apart from just green energy. So safe ways, not polluting ways, or with a lot of radioactive waste, which they're dumping in the oceans, which is all going to leak out at some time. So there are ways of doing it safely as well. But we need to change, and we've got to change. If we don't, then we're heading for catastrophe. And we've got to go green. There's no choice. And, I am here as an instrument of God to try and get help from the spirit realm so this plane's made safe enough for a spiritual awakening of the earthly plane with Father God behind it. Because it's Father God's spiritual awakening of the earthly plane, and it is to wake us up and get us to turn away from these things, because it's to bring guidance and connect the earth to the spirit realm, so we get guidance from the spirit realm that we must change. Because it was the only way to do it, was to get a people power of this world to become more aware of what we need to do and support it. because only small numbers of people on this world at the moment support going green and doing many other things like ending wars and all these things and living in peace and harmony on the world and in balance with the ecosystem and the natures of the world. And so the awakening was about inspiring everybody to change and, support green issues and all the good things that also come along with that, which is, helping people to learn to care and love the world and turn around and help to change it personally, not just sitting back letting somebody else do it, which there's only few that do it really. But if you could get people power on this world to support change, then it would happen, because there's nothing so great as people power. Nothing can stand up to people power. If the people decide they want this world to change for the better, they will force that to happen, because it's just petitioning governments and, going out and, making our opinion known. But you've got to first inspire the people to do that. And the Spirit Guide Connection and maybe a teacher here could help to do that. Whether I ever be free, because I'm been conspired against and I'm in a trap. But whether I ever be free and able to teach down here other than now through this, I don't know. But this is good enough for now. So we do our best, don't we, to inspire the people to change. And it's personal issues. We can start using our cars a little less, maybe share cars to go to work, have a carpool and, take turns at things, use more economy devices in our homes and bulbs and different things to cut down our energy use, because the more we cut down, the less they're using at the power stations to supply us, the less fossil fuels and other things that are detrimental to the planet. And, about buying products that are eco-friendly, that break down in the oceans, and about standing up to stop pollution of the oceans, of plastic and all these different things we need to stand up for. And we know we do, don't we? I mean, we do, most of you. Some of you might not care, but a majority of you know we do need to do things to make this planet a more habitable place, because it's not just for ourselves, is it? It's for all other life here, and we do have a responsibility as the most advanced species to do that. Now, most worlds wouldn't have humanoids on because they're so intelligent they could actually become the destroyers of their own worlds, exactly what we're doing here. That's why we're at the back of the queue of all God's worlds, because most have got more common sense than to do destructive things to their own planet, because they know they're not only destroying it for the current generation, but all future generations to come. And our legacy, our future generations of this world are going to be suffering our legacy, which is going to get worse and worse and worse, pollution and global warming, unless we start standing up now to make a difference. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, friends. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope you can support these things in your own little ways, in doing a few things to help the environment in your own homes and the way you travel about and do different things. Just that little bit of thoughts that can make all the difference to this world and all life on it, including ourselves. So, well done, friend. Much love and light to you. Blessings, Neil.